everybody. This is Michelle.
And this is Julie, her favorite brunette.
Did you feel the animation in that introduction?
She's being very perky. If you go back through a couple episodes, you'll see where she's sticking her chest out. She thinks that's perky. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying her voice.
Perky.
All these guys are always on here going, damn, that girl's voice is sexy. And they're not talking about me. They're talking about you.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Serious. Well, hey, we are here today with a lovely guest, Miss Celina Georgeadis. Hello, Celina.
Hello.
Georgeadis.
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 Is that just a tiny bit Greek?
Just a little Greek.
Yeah,
just a tiny bit. 10 letters of Greek.
Well, we're all going to live a little vicariously through Miss Celina because she is the adventure girl. This girl she's 27 years old and she's already been to a few different continents and just picked her ass up and moved all the way to New York. And I couldn't believe that she did it, but we are dying to hear all of the details about her journey and what she's learned so far and cool things that she's experienced in New York.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we'll just ask you a few questions here and there, but we are dying to get started.
Please do. Before we start, I'm so excited to be here. Just the intro, I listen to it every Monday morning. So it was crazy. A very surreal experience.
We love that we have listeners in the New York area.
Yeah.
We can see that from some of our statistics.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I do make my roommates listen sometimes.
Yeah.
And we debrief, so they feel like they know you too.
I like
good.
it.
I love it.
It's growing.
Yeah.
You have a contingent of...
It's very, very fun. It's very fun when people say, oh, I know your voice. Or I've heard people say, it was like, I feel like I know Michelle.
I know.
Well, I just came up to her in the driveway and was like, hey, how are you? Like, I've known her for 1,000 years. And she was like, you listen to the podcast? And I was like, yeah, I do.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. But yeah.
So we've got the blonde and then another blonde, Celina, and then myself. So
blonde, but
knock yourself out, girl. Let's see what you've got going on.
Yeah.
Can I just say a little bit like preview here is that you are like not even, what are you, mid-20s?
27.
So 27 years old. And really, she's done more than I have in my 58 years as far as travel and adventure.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess having kids and all that is a whole other adventure. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the reasons we wanted to do this is, one, to hear the possibilities from somebody at such a young age and the desire and the things that can move you through to doing some of these things that maybe other people your age are hesitant to do.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun for them to hear that it can be done, or even parents for their own kids listening to your story and being able to encourage them. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Well, I know she is an adventurer. She's like we were saying earlier, like a type A adventurer.
Mm-hmm.
Type A, what was it? Type A free spirit.
Free spirit, yeah. Which is kind of like an oxymoron there.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But hey, we'll go with it.
That's good.
No, but I appreciate that. I think that adventure looks different for every single person.
Yeah.
That can be dyeing your hair. That can be getting a new car. That could be travel. That could be any number of things. Mine has just very much, I looked like I can't sit still, which is true. So it's looked like moving different places and traveling different places.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a couple.
So let's start out like you graduated high school, and then where did you go to college?
Yeah. Born and raised in Seattle. I went to school in Los Angeles at USC. I lived there for the 4 years of college and then about 2 years after. But what was weird is I graduated in 2019 and then 2020, obviously, was the pandemic. So I was living in LA, but I was locked inside a 1-bedroom apartment in LA. Mm-hmm. So I did that, got a little bit of a taste, and then I moved back home to Marysville. So kind of a rural suburb in Washington with my family.
During the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. And kind of rode out the rest of, we were getting a vaccine in order and the pandemic was, I don't want to say winding down, but the world was starting to open back up. And I basically, the long story short, and then I'll get into the longer story, but is my work. I was lucky to have an opportunity. I worked for a New York-based company. Okay. And it was a really seamless experience. They just kind of said,
and you were working remotely though. They were totally cool with that.
I was working remotely, same job from the time I graduated. And then I just left the company a few months ago,
and it's in finance.
In finance, I was in investment banking, and it was because it was a New York-based company, really seamless experience. They just said, like, do you want to move to New York? And I said, yeah. And kind of the funny story that goes along with that is my dad and I went for a walk. I'd kind of identified that New York was sort of a place that I had interest in moving to. And I was going for a walk with my dad right before this happened and was kind of having a meltdown, was kind of saying, I'm never going to get to New York. Like everybody else is moving there and I'm just never going to make it, whatever. And then I got home from the walk, took off my shoes, sat back down on my computer, opened up a Skype ping from my boss that said, do you want to move to New York?
That was kind of meant to be.
Yeah. And I ran downstairs and like, my eyes are still puffy from the conversation I'd had on the walk. And I run downstairs and I'm like, Dad, I'm going to move to New York. And he was like, wait, what is going on?
We just talked about this.
Yeah, wait, what are you talking about? But yeah, so that was kind of the, I guess, logistical how I got there.
But you always knew you wouldn't be here.
I knew. So this kind of gets to just sort of having an adventurous, kind of being innately adventurous. I love the Pacific Northwest, born and raised here. All my family is here. But I got to a point when I was pretty young. I was probably like 10 or something like that. And kind of just felt like I'd been there, done that, sort of. I'm like 10 years old. Like, what am I talking about? But kind of knew that I wanted to explore. Like it would always be here for me and I love it and love that it will always be here for me, but knew that I wanted to just kind of see other things, try other things, new foods, meet new people. I grew up very Catholic, so in a group of people that's very just demographically similar to myself. And I kind of knew there was more out there, but I didn't know what it was. And I was kind of like, let's go. My dad says, take a bite out of the ass of life. So Mark, but
that's so Mark.
That is what he says. And so I was like, okay, sounds good. I'm going to go take that bite and just
take the bite of the Big Apple.
Yeah. And just see it could have, and honestly, it could have been New York. That was kind of how the cards unfolded for me. But that being said, it could have been San Francisco. It could have been Chicago. It could have been London. It could have been Sydney. And it could have been not geographically as well. It could have been starting a podcast.
So really you just want to get out and get somewhere.
I just have always wanted to experience
and do things. Yeah. And New York just seemed to
be the natural
progression
with work and everything.
It's sort of, I'm big on trusting your gut and kind of not fighting. I think I know you guys are very spiritual. I've listened to all your episodes, but I think that the universe kind of tells you things or gives you hints.
Oh, for sure.
It's kind of like you might be going in the right direction. And so, I mean, you heard the story about my boss pinging me after I got back from having a meltdown. I was kind of like,
that's
a
sign. That is a sign. I don't care what anybody says. Well,
so one of the mottos that's been top of mind, I would say, for the last year is man plans, God laughs. So anytime like you think you're pulling the puppet strings.
Right.
I think the big man or the stars or whatever you believe in likes to be like, that's cute.
Right.
That's cute. No, you don't.
Well, you tried LA because obviously you went to school at USC. So just to back up a tiny bit, Celina actually had the benefit of going to a private school in Seattle that is right by where we live here at Lakeside. And so her exposure to people, from all over the place was more prevalent, I would say, than if you had gone to Jackson or if you'd gone to one of the other schools that was out north.
Yeah.
She commuted in every day from Marysville.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that as I was doing the drive today. Was like,
you used to do it.
I commuted like basically 2 hours one way to high school. And I was driving down today and was just like, how and why did I ever do that? But the reason that I did it, I look at going to that high school instead of going to the high school that I was supposed to go to. It is a very like elite private school. It's kind of an annoying thing to say, but it's a private school that opens up a lot of doors and a lot of opportunity.
Yes.
And I really do look at it as the, what's the expression? Kind of the turning point. My life would look entirely different today if I hadn't gone there. A lot of stress, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of hard work and all of those things. And I definitely felt like a fish out of water. I transferred in. That came with a whole host of social, like high school is hard enough, you know? And I'm kind of the girl from like the rural suburb that's like wearing neon pink coats and bedazzled jeans and all these city kids are like, what are you doing? Like, who are you? And so anyway, I'm getting off topic, but it definitely came with a host of challenges, but I think I was better off for it.
Certainly.
For sure.
Truly opened up a lot of doors.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I would say about like adventure at all is, I think there's an expression, but kind of the idea is, I think that challenging yourself, the expression of the high school is like get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I think it's really uncomfortable to do new things, to experience change. of any kind, if that's a new job or a new relationship or
that's how you grow.
That's how you grow. But like part of being adventurous is, I think, trying to figure out how to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think that after you do it for a while, you like start to need the discomfort.
You get bored.
You get bored. And I think I just moved jobs. That's why I moved jobs. Like, I would almost say that my biggest fear is being bored and like stopping that personal growth.
Yeah.
So then USC, and then from USC, you had obtained your degree.
Yep.
And you were in finance.
Yep.
And I know I remember during the pandemic, you being in California, and you were really isolated where you were at because you were living on your own. And she was on her computer like all flipping day long.
I think, I remember calling you a couple times, but I think that was a common experience for a lot of people, regardless of age.
Yeah.
I'll speak for the 20-somethings that had just graduated and were trying to adjust to life outside of university and meet new people. Add to that a pandemic where you're locked inside and not supposed to talk to other people. And I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment at my computer 24/7.
Yeah.
And
sounds awful.
Yeah. It was so unnatural for everybody. But it was I think a lot of people can relate to the fact that the pandemic was just like a very isolating experience.
Yes.
So very glad that's behind me. And then I was in a 1-bedroom. So that was largely the reason I moved home.
You could do the same thing at home.
Do the same thing.
And be locked up.
And your mom would cook for you.
Mom would cook for me, and having more people.
Yeah.
I know moving home with your parents isn't the most like glorious move you'll ever make, but I don't know.
I think those decisions during that time were different, just like everything was. So,
and I think it brought families closer together too.
Yeah, so I do too. Well, you guys were so isolated.
Yeah.
I mean, I basically didn't see Mark for almost a year.
We took it very seriously.
Yeah, very seriously.
Very seriously. We almost killed each other a couple times, but better for it. Made it out alive.
Yeah.
So
you transitioned to New York.
And then I moved to New York in September of 21. Kind of as things were opening back up. So I moved for work, was the convenient, I guess, logistical aspect of it. But I kind of felt like as a side effect of all that isolation, people my age and in my network kind of were then trying to sort of fight or make up for lost time. And I feel like a lot of people I knew were going to New York and they were all moving there, and work gave me a really easy way to do that. And there was a lot of career opportunity, and I love it. Even if not the pandemic, I think it's a really fun place to exist in your 20s. I had a lot of friends moving there, and kind of the rest is history.
Yeah.
So do you think that you'll stay? I know that we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but Manhattan, we talked about being like really cool for your 20s.
Yeah.
And it's an incredibly fast-paced environment. So I mean, just having been there for work, I was exhausted because and you didn't see a lot of people that were more our age, really. I mean, except they probably commuted into the city, the ones I remember. Or you would see people that would walk with their shopping carts, because they probably lived in one of the high rises and went to the market to get their vegetables or whatever. There's no grocery stores.
There are grocery stores. They're a different concept of a grocery store than I think your bigger one. My roommates and I, we have a push cart. People make fun of them all the time. They're ridiculous, but they're like little push carts that you cart all around. We put flames on the outside of it, and we call it Lightning McQueen. So it's funny. It is a very vibrant place. I've kind of said it's great for your 20-somethings, right? You're meeting new people and you're darting from birthday party to dinner party to this to that. You're going to this interview and that interview. And I think there's a lot of serendipity that happens, who you meet in the elevator or whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of serendipity. It's also exhausting for sure. What I was saying earlier is I think it's perfect for that mid-20s part of life where you're kind of young enough that's exciting and fun.
Right.
It also kind of keeps you, I think some people love it when they're in their 30s because it keeps you in your mid-20s.
Yeah.
But I think it kind of keeps you there. And what I mean by that is still everything they say about it kind of on the more, I don't want to say negative side. I love it, but it's true. It's expensive. It's fast paced. You got to keep up. You have to really have a lot of like drive and energy to sort of do it all the time. And after you've been doing it for a number of years, I can see how people are like, I just want a big house and
I just want to go to the burbs.
Yeah. I just want to walk out of my front door and not have 80,000 people walking on my street. But but at the same time, it's one of the things that I've said that I love about it is you can take the same commute to work every day, and every day it's a different commute. Like just the different things you see, if it's somebody in a costume or there's some event going on or whatever it is. This week, Times Square, the pipes burst and the Times Square subway station flooded.
Oh, jeez.
And so just New Yorkers kind of doing their thing.
You're about 30 minutes from your work.
About 30 minutes
and
from
you
work.
take the train?
I do. I take
subway?
Yep, the subway. And I walk 10 minutes and then I take 3 trains.
Wow, to get to work.
Yeah.
And you're in Manhattan. And your job is in Manhattan.
I'm a mile and a half away.
What?
Yeah. I'll say I take 2 trains. One of them, I get on the local and I transfer to the express. So it's still the red line, but I just like to get on the quick train.
So would it be, in my mind, I'm like, it would be quicker to walk.
That's
Obviously, you're not going to do that in the wintertime, but is it quicker to walk because of the number of people that are on the sidewalk? I always see in movies and stuff, you know, all the people and you can't hardly get through.
Yeah.
Is that what it's like?
It kind of depends on the walk. If nobody that lives there wants to walk through Times Square. Gross. Like,
really?
Too many tourists.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you're a tourist and you're visiting New York, go to Times Square.
Sure.
It's worth seeing.
Right.
But if you live there, you still have things you have to do.
Just like Pike's Market, I
Exactly.
suppose.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so there are so many things that are right next to you that are worth seeing that make New York so exciting. But especially if you're like, have this New York corporate job and you're trying to get done, you're kind of like, okay, I get it. Like, cool. Like Bella Hadid, like, I don't care. Like, get out of my way. So we were telling this story earlier today. My boyfriend works on 96th Street, which is the street that the president takes when he comes into town.
Oh.
And so everybody is stopped to be like, the president is coming, the president is coming. And everybody that he works with is like throwing elbows. It's like, I get it. Like, get out of my way. Like, I got to get to work. Like, come on.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of funny. The reason you love New York is also kind of the reason that you get
the things that can be challenging.
Yeah. I don't want to say burn out of New York because that's not it, but it's funny. You look and you laugh.
So let's talk about your living situation.
Yes.
The people are going to get blown away by this.
This is very famously, New York is famous for being a very expensive place to live.
Right.
So I'll just talk about my living situation because I think it's fairly representative. I have 2 roommates and we live in an apartment in the West Village, which is definitely a kind of happening spot. We're definitely paying for location, I would say. We pay $7,000 a month. Not each of us. That is the whole apartment, to be clear.
Between 3 of you, though.
500 square feet.
It's like 500 square feet, plus or minus. I don't know the exact square footage, but it's about 500 square feet. It's legally a 1-bedroom, but I will clarify we each do have our own room. You need legally to be considered a bedroom. You need to have a window, and you need to have, I believe you also need to have 4 walls. So that's the criteria we're working with. 1 bedroom doesn't have a window. 1 bedroom this is kind of a New York concept, but is a flex room. So has 3 walls, and then you can either construct sort of a makeshift 4th wall, or in our case, it has sliding doors.
Okay.
But then that is the window in the flex room is also the window to the common area. So need to have the doors open to get the light. And then my room, I upgraded to the master this year, is the smallest room, but I do have both a window and a door.
Nice.
Do you have a closet?
I do. I'm very lucky. I have a big closet for New York.
Okay.
A big closet for New York. So who knows what size that is?
It's a normal size closet.
Okay.
Truly, but I count my blessings. Yeah. And so there's 3 of us that share. And I guess the other thing, so we're quote unquote 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and then a washer dryer is the other big luxury.
That's amazing.
Yeah, is the other big luxury for our apartment. So
a lot of people, this is real basic stuff, but you have a washer dryer, which is kind of uncommon.
Yeah.
And so people either go to a laundromat or they have their laundry done for them.
Yeah.
You were saying?
Pack and fold. So what's common, instead of going to a laundromat where you sit and you wash it yourself, you do the quarters and the whole thing, you drop it off at a facility, or I think there are some that come and pick it up for you, and they wash your clothes. And then they fold your clothes, which is awesome because then you don't have to do laundry.
I'd totally be doing that.
I know.
Yeah.
Not if although if I was having to pay, like $1,000 a month, I might not.
I want to say it's like reasonable, maybe like $60 a month kind of a thing.
That's all?
I have a washer dryer in unit.
So she doesn't have to worry about it.
So I don't have to worry about it,
Yeah.
but I want to say that is. So if your least favorite chore is laundry, honestly, it's kind of the way to go.
Yeah. So it's pretty typical though. Like what you just explained to us, you said is pretty average, like that amount of rent. I know you're paying for location, but for the size and kind of.
Yeah, I would say location.
Yeah.
Location is probably driving the higher. And after the pandemic, rent has fluctuated quite a bit. There was a period of time when everybody, kind of right when I moved, was coming back to the city where rents were at all-time highs. And then they kind of chilled out a little bit. So it ebbs and flows. But
and I would imagine you don't have a car.
No.
I mean, yeah.
Where would you even put it?
That's I'm just sitting here like, what are gas prices? And then I was thinking, who cares? Like, who has a car in New York?
Well, and that's kind of the best thing. It was getting rid of the car. I missed going for a joyride, that whole thing. But it's great to not have to worry about, and also financially to not have to worry about is great.
And you wouldn't need it.
You don't need it.
You really don't need it.
So I guess there's that trade-in. A little bit of it, like you don't have that expense,
right?
So
your automobile budget becomes your dinner budget.
Her going out budget.
Your going out budget.
Do you eat much at home, or is it
no?
So that's kind of a thing too.
Yeah, I'm notoriously terrible cook.
Well, and would you say that's pretty typical for?
Yeah,
there's a lot of restaurants
for people your age.
A lot of
New
restaurants.
York.
Kitchen space is hard. Produce goes bad really fast. Like we talk about that all the time. Like it's hard to keep produce for more than a couple days.
Yeah,
you're working late, so by the time you get off work extra late, it's hard to like go home and cook them, like get the time. And I know that's hard anywhere, but yeah, I'd say it's pretty typical on average. I would say in New York, I would imagine people go out far less than in other cities, or go out far more.
Go out far more. Yeah.
Just the accessibility.
Okay. Yeah.
So tell us about the nightlife.
The nightlife is very good. There's kind of something for anybody. One of my roommates is more introverted and definitely benefits more from the sort of theater, museum, bookstore, coffee shop scene, kind of more, I guess I'd call it like structured activities, the arts, that scene. But then my other roommate definitely benefits more from the bars and the not so much clubs. We don't really have that much energy anymore. Yeah. But more so.
Did she just say they don't have that much energy anymore? She's 27. Oh my God.
But clubs, that was short lived. That was a 22 to 24 sort of endeavor.
Yeah.
But they're there if you're into those.
Have you been to some?
I've been
in
to
New York just for the experience.
Totally. But a lot of the like if it's DJs or it starts so late, like they'll start at like midnight or 2 a.m. or something like that. And I'm like deep in REM sleep by 2 a.m. Kind of no matter what I've done.
Yeah.
That's maybe me personally, but it's there if you want it. But I think just the accessibility, this kind of gets to the subways and everything, just the accessibility of I don't want to say bar hopping because you don't always have to bar hop, but
I wouldn't want to be out and about in New York City like all night. But truly, from what you're saying, it is the city that never sleeps.
It is. And it's because of that, I think it's also safe. I know that's a big concern also with people in New York. I mean, because you have people milling about all the time, it is safe. You feel like there are people around you. And it's probably a false sense of security too. I don't really know.
Well,
but
as long as you're aware, that's kind of what is most important, I would say.
And
what about fashion?
Oh, it's the best part.
Yeah.
It's the best part. And the closets are not big enough, but you have different seasons is the best thing. And so fall fashion is upon us. And so they're breaking out the long coats, the long jackets and the boots and the sweaters and the denim and the corduroy and all of that. So that's very fun. And then because you have truly like 4 seasons, you kind of have a little bit of a different wardrobe for every season.
Not Birkenstocks and socks.
Not Birkenstocks and Patagonias.
Yeah.
They don't have that there, huh?
No.
Patagonia.
Oh, she's got her Canadian goose jacket. Canada Goose.
American Swan.
Yeah.
Is what I think my dad says or something like that. But the fashion is kind of the best because it's fun, you know, fun to dress up and I don't know. I love that aspect of it. I just joined Rent the Runway. So
What's that?
You don't know Rent the Runway?
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that. So you have to have a lot of events and things to go to.
What is it?
It's basically you pay a subscription and you can pick different plans. I picked like the 10 item a month plan and you rent it. They
closed?
Yes.
Oh.
So there's the best ways to sort of curate your box, but you basically pay a fee. I think the one that I paid for was like $100 a month. It was on sale or something. You get 10 items that you can try out and they make the shipping and then the sending back really easy. They'll come to your door. I haven't done it yet. I signed up on Thursday.
You're buying them.
No, you're renting.
You're renting them.
But then also you can buy it for way discounts.
Okay.
And so for me, who was kind of doing the same thing anyway to go shopping, was just buying a bunch of stuff, seeing what fits, and then sending it back. It's an easy way of doing that too.
And then you can get things that are kind of unique or statement pieces.
Because everybody in New York is trying something new with fashion.
Right.
And is pretty bold and unapologetic about it. So it's fun. I think about that a lot. Like if I were to move back, like I wouldn't get to wear all my nice, or not necessarily nice, but my like fun out there pieces.
Unique.
She would have to wear them to Marysville Strawberry Festival or something.
Yeah.
Casino.
Yeah.
The casino.
In my house. Walk
The
around.
casino.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you did end up seeking out a place, I know, that was Seattle based, right? To watch some games. So she's a big sports fan.
I do.
Like a sports bar there that is Seattle based.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I'm in particular a big baseball fan. I just summer baseball. There's something about summer baseball that I just sticks with me. And the Seattle Mariners were good for the first time this year since 2001, I think.
Yeah.
Was the last time they made the playoffs. And so not a lot of my girlfriends like to watch sports, and I didn't get it on the local channel. So they have I think it's normally a Seahawks bar.
Oh, okay.
But because the Mariners were good this year, they were playing like the Mariners game. So I went to a Seattle bar by myself. My friend calls me a walking red flag because I went to the bar by myself. And
you were at least wearing a jersey.
Everybody in the bar was wearing the jersey. And so one of the things, I'll take a quick pause in the story, that I love about New York is that it's a city of transplants.
Yeah.
And because of that, everybody's very energized to meet new people. And especially people from Seattle that already have so much hometown pride.
Yeah.
You get them across the country, and if you find somebody else that's from Seattle, it's like instant friendship. You're like, oh, like, do you know Vinny Ridge, or where did you go to school?
Right.
And
You start talking
Seattle,
about the geography. Yeah. Just
Seattle
like
is such a small city, kind of.
Yeah, it really is.
That it's sort of instant friends. And so I knew walking into this Seattle bar, I was intentionally going, knowing that one, Seattle, we'd already have something in common. And that if we're watching the Mariners, we haven't been good in a really long time. So you're already sort of bonded through that. So anyway, and then the fun detail that I'm sure you're gunning for here is that I actually met my boyfriend there. He did the same thing. He went to the bar, not necessarily trying to meet people, just wanted to watch the game. Is from Seattle, why not, sort of a thing. We both went to the bar by ourselves, and we have different versions of this story. He says
it's always the case.
Always the case.
He was like, she saw me from across the room and thought I was so cute and came up to me and had to talk to me. And I'm like, no, it was the only open seat at the bar. And I am clearly very talkative. So I looked over and was like, oh, are you from Seattle? And the rest is history.
Yeah.
But
she's like the golden unicorn, the woman wearing a jersey, going to a sports bar by herself to watch the playoffs. I mean, every guy would be lining up had they known she was there.
No, and now he's like, wait, that's a great way to pick up guys. Like, that's a great way to pick up guys. Like, all girls should do that. And I'm like, that's not why I was going to the bar, to be clear. Like, I just wanted to watch the game. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He's got your number.
Yeah.
He's got your number.
Yeah, he does. So that is the fun story. But yeah, it kind of is sort of a New York mentality, I guess. The whole city of transplants thing, by virtue of that, people being very open to meet other people. And I think New York kind of attracts an adventurous person.
Yeah.
Somebody that's willing to kind of say hi to the person next to them, like isn't necessarily afraid to talk to a stranger, kind of a thing.
So when in the Seattle, so on the flip side of that, the Seattle area, you had mentioned something when we were kind of preparing about the Seattle freeze. Do you think that really is true?
So I haven't lived in Seattle as an adult.
Yeah.
So I haven't tried to make new friends in Seattle. So I might not be the best source, but from what I've heard from my friends that have moved here, they say it's absolutely a thing. And what he'll say, because he's from Seattle, is people that grow up here and then they have friends here, they don't need new friends. They're comfortable in their friend groups. And there's kind of this mentality where it's like, oh, it would be awkward if I went up and talked to them. Like, they don't want to talk to me, or, hey, how are you? Nice to see you. Like, we should get a coffee. But
that would be weird here.
But yeah,
is what you're saying.
No, well, or they'll say it, but there's no intention to actually do it. People have other things going on.
That's what we talked about. Yeah, they're nice up front and they say it, and we should blah, blah, blah.
Well, it's this passive aggressive thing.
Yeah,
that is notorious. We've heard it many times from different people.
I don't know. I hope that's not a thing. And I have a Seattle community to come back to when I come back.
Right.
But I definitely felt that way about LA. People kind of grow up there and kind of have their
maybe
high
it's a
school
West
friends.
Coast thing.
Might be.
Or I feel like San Francisco, I haven't lived in DC, but I've lived in San Francisco, and people in San Francisco, also city of transplants, very much open to meeting other people and kind of that same energy. Say Uber pool was a huge thing when I was there in 2018. And I made a couple friends in the backseat sharing Ubers. It was
Really?
like, oh, hey, you're great. Like, let's go get a drink at a bar. And we'd go get a drink at a bar versus I think the cities where people tend to grow up there and then stay there, there's less incentive to make new friends.
So the city of transplants is the key.
Well, we have a city of transplants here too.
Increasingly more so, yeah.
Yeah. But it's all tech. Yeah. Most of it's tech.
But look at how compact New York is.
Yeah.
So you have no choice but to maybe try and talk to somebody.
True. That's really true.
Yeah.
You're like,
so culturally super different. Like the way people communicate is very different.
That's what I've found. Is just there's a certain like directness about people. You know, they'll tell you like if it's the coffee thing or if it's I kind of think the move out of the way, like, hey, I'm walking here, like that example. Like people will be like, I like
they
your
don't say
outfit.
please. I'd be like, say please,
or like please move, but they'll also help you if you like spill your groceries on the ground and pick it up. So it's just more, it's not mean, it's just direct.
I'm thinking of that Ludacris song for some reason. Move, get out the way, get out the way, get out the way.
Get out the way, bitch, get out the way. She had to throw that part in there.
Yeah.
Well, so what do you, when you have the ability to kind of compare two different cultures, really, East Coast culture, West Coast culture. And so we're going to have people that are listening from the East Coast and they're going to be like, wow, West Coast is so much different. They probably already knew that. But what do you feel are things that you have brought with you to the East Coast from here?
Oh, that's a good question.
I was just going to say that's a good question, Jules.
That's a really good question.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that the West Coast, let me think about that, is very laid back. I don't necessarily know if I want to say there's like a certain like groundedness or like granola-ness. It's less
earthiness.
Like it's less when I think about even like being in high school, like I feel like the East Coast kids are always like very go, go, go. They're from the minute they show up, like when they're little kids, they're worried about where am I going to college? Or at least maybe that's, I don't know, I'm in finance. Maybe that's the circles I run in, but it's very achievement oriented, very corporate, very buttoned up, very polished, very, I don't want to say cutthroat. Stiff is a good word. Yeah. Versus I feel like the West Coast is a little bit more laid back, come as you are, hang out.
Wear your Birkenstocks.
Yeah. Like
West Coast.
Yeah.
Michelle's throwing up her W signs here.
Yeah. A little bit more, it's less like, I'm trying to use this as more of an analogy than exactly this specific example, but it's a lot less concerned with like, where did you go to college? And more sort of worried about, can you hang out?
Yeah.
Sort of. Like, do you pass the airport test?
Right.
Like that kind of a thing. And so maybe I bring a little bit of laid backness. I feel like people can't, in some ways, kind of can't get if they were to guess where I'm from, they're like, I think I'm an East Coast, a born East Coaster that grew up on the West Coast.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
So you're always moving pretty fast.
Yeah. I got scolded today because we were trying to walk. Not saunter, like
Saunter?
walk leisurely.
Stroll.
I was trying to stroll, and they were like, "You stroll really quickly."
I do that too. Yeah. She's got a purpose, man. She's going somewhere with a purpose.
Yeah.
I can stop and smell the roses, but I'm smelling them quick.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So if you've got, let's just say we've got people that are right around your age or 25 to 35, say years old, and they're considering having some kind of an adventure like this. Are there different things that you can give them as examples?
I think adventure looks different for every single person. That can look, for some people, that can look like dyeing your hair. For some people, that can look like starting a podcast. For some people, that can look like moving across the country or travel or what have you, sort of. But I think that the biggest thing for me when I'm picking a new adventure is it's not really like a conscious decision. It's sort of like trust your gut, sort of. I would say that moving to New York sort of started off as a thought. And one that I was like originally like, I don't want to say opposed to, but I was kind of like, no. Like that's not that's probably not for me. But then slowly but surely, the universe sort of started putting it sort of in my path. And I just sort of started warming up to the idea. And then it was kind of like, wait, I think I actually do want that. And then sort of the pieces, all of the puzzle pieces sort of fell into place. But I would say the same is true for any adventure. If you've always wanted to travel to a certain place, but you thought like maybe it wasn't attainable, just start with like a little savings goal, like baby steps, right? Like you don't have to like, let's say you want to like go to, I don't know, travel to foreign country, Africa, somewhere. And it seems super financially like not attainable. Just try to save $500 and then your $500 toward whatever your travel goal is, and you just slowly but surely sort of work your way there. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, it does. I know you're kind of an adventurous spirit.
Yeah.
So the whole idea of moving to New York, it's like, I mean, I know a lot of people your age and you're the only one I know that would actually consider doing it. But I think that's wonderful, but it's also kind of takes on the same idea when it comes to your travel because you've done some other kind of crazy things.
Yeah.
She just kind of goes.
I was going to say, she said when she was answering your last question, she said, when you're picking your adventure, I was like, what else have you done? What other adventurous things have you done?
I've had quite a travel year, I would say. I had a significant amount of pay time off. And I honestly had a lot of decision paralysis because I had a month of PTO. And it was like, you kind of feel like the world is your oyster. And it's sort of like, you can do anything with it. What do you do? I tend to fall into the category of I put way too much pressure on that decision. But I was like, let's do something that I could kind of never do again. And so I decided to go to Antarctica. Yeah.
She did the polar plunge. I saw it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
From the time I booked the trip to the time I got on the plane was 9 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And what's great about that, if anybody's interested in going to Antarctica, is you get last minute deals where they're basically selling rooms at cost.
Really?
Yeah. And so I got a good deal that way. And that is an adventure that isn't super applicable to everybody because I had paid time off that I could take. I had a ridiculous kind of amount of paid time off. I was in the financial situation where I could, and I didn't have anything tying me down. Like I don't have pets. I don't have pets. I don't have kids. I don't have kind of anybody that would worry about it that way. And so I did that earlier this year. And so that was great. That was in November. And then I had more PTO.
How was the polar plunge? How was the polar plunge?
Really?
Before you tell us about the next.
Really cold. They applicable to any adventure you take. You just kind of have to take the plunge.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to, don't think, just do. Make sure you're safe. Make sure you're safe. And they strap you up. So you're not in warm gear. Like I went in a bathing suit. Some people did it naked.
But there were icebergs around.
There were icebergs around.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Like absolutely beautiful. But you're in like a regular bathing suit. A couple of my friends did it naked. Like did
they really?
Yeah. Like you're not in any kind of special gear, and they stick a harness to you because it's so cold that like that's dangerous. Jumping into the water, you could totally go into shock and pass out. So they stick a harness around you and they hook you in so that they can pull you up in case you do.
How long do they?
You jump in and get out.
I was going to say, yeah.
You jump in and get out, and they have a shot of tequila waiting for you at the end. So
to warm you up.
And then I was lucky, and there was a jacuzzi on the top deck.
Oh, wow.
So I literally sprinted up. But some people, the line, I was lucky, and like almost everybody on my boat, I don't remember, it was like 200 people on my boat did it almost. So there was like a long line. So if you had gotten to the back of the line, you were in line and then you were jumping in. I was like the third person to jump. I was like, get me in, get me out.
Yeah, that's what I would want to do.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah. But I mean, would I do it again? I'd recommend it to anybody.
Good.
But I kind of checked it off the bucket list.
Right. I was going to say, yeah.
I hate being cold.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm good. But it's again, to any adventure, you kind of just have to close your eyes, count to 3, do it.
Yeah. Okay. What was the next adventure?
Also on the theme of travel, what I originally thought I was going to do on my PTO was I've always wanted to go safari in Africa. You almost came with me.
I wanted to go with her so bad.
And I wish I could have made it work. I was moving jobs, so I had to do it while I was at the job where I had all the PTO.
Yeah.
But I'd always wanted to go safari in Africa. And so also booked pretty last minute. But yeah, I went. That was in May or June.
She didn't want to go on that one on her own. She went to Antarctica on her own.
Yeah.
But you ended up having a friend that went with you to Africa, right?
Africa. I was ready to go by myself. I assumed that I was going to, and I called my friend who I hadn't talked to in probably 6 months. And I was just checking in, just like, hey, like, how are you doing? Like, catching up. And she goes, I'm okay. Like, I just got laid off. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that. But it sounds like you have a lot of free time. Like, do you want to come to Africa? Like, knowing she's from New Zealand, she's totally an animal person. Like, I was sort of just throwing it out, taking a shot in the dark, but knowing that like she'd totally be interested if she could make it work. And she was like, yeah.
One of those things that were probably meant to be.
And her partner, it's not a trip that ever would have interested her. So I think to her too, it was kind of like wait, this is kind of an opportunity that why not?
Yeah.
Right.
There's so many things that you can do that you can talk yourself out of so easily. It's just easier to stay at home, tucked under a blanket, watching.
Yeah. Michelle, have you ever heard that before?
Really?
Yeah.
No.
It's easier to stay at home, tucked under a blanket.
We were just talking about that the other night.
And I like staying tucked at home. Don't get me wrong. Just in between,
in between other things.
International trips. Yeah.
But. So I had heard from someone, probably one of your parents, that your goal was to hit every continent before you turned 30.
Yeah. Well, I'm 5. I only have 2 left.
Yeah.
So it was not a goal that I set out for originally, but I've had kind of a ridiculous year that, again, like I in no way planned. If you had told me 12 months ago I was going to both Africa and Antarctica, I would have been like, you're insane. Like, there's no way that's going to happen. But it just kind of has happened that way.
Yeah.
And you have to stop in South Africa to get to Antarctica. So, and I'd been sort of before briefly. So cross those 2 off. And so now all I have to hit is Australia and Asia.
Oh.
So if you're looking to travel in 2024, I need a travel buddy.
Thailand.
Or 25 or 20. I got a couple years till I'm 30. But and that's kind of arbitrary. If I hit it by the time I'm 31, I won't shed a tear.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Oh, you'll do it.
Yeah.
You'll totally do it by the time you're 30.
I know. Why not? You know, it's fun. I don't know.
So would you recommend someone taking this adventure if they're around your age and just trying to figure out life?
Yeah. Not if you don't have a desire to. Some people don't. And I can't exactly relate just because that's my desire for like adventure has always kind of been such an innate thing.
Right.
So if you're the kind of person that's truly content, my brother is this way. You're truly content to just be and to do the same things that you do all the time. And he just wants to commit to like one thing and get good at that one thing. Then like power to you. Like if you are fulfilled with that, then like seriously, like that's awesome. And that's really cool. And that's great.
Do it.
Exactly.
Do it.
But if you're the kind of person that has been like, I really want to, but I can't afford it, or but I can't get the PTO, or but what about my dog? Or but like whatever. Like if you have buts, if you want to do it, but you keep
finding reasons not to.
Yeah, talking yourself out of it, then I just kind of think figure it out. That maybe that's harsh, but I don't know. Life's too short, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe I have fear of having regrets.
It might be harsh, but you're a New Yorker now.
Yeah, but I'm really direct. So
she's very direct now.
I'm a big believer in like do the things that scare you because it's where personal growth comes from. And what's the worst that can happen?
You hate it.
Yeah,
and you leave.
You had a learning experience.
Exactly.
And you don't do it again.
Yeah. But you wouldn't know unless you went.
Exactly.
That's what I love. I love that adventurous spirit.
That's
We always have kind of wondered if you were my daughter.
No, it's kind of crazy. A little bit.
We're just like, can we switch?
I think we look a little bit more alike than I look like my mom.
Yeah.
And I think we have a more similar personality traits.
That's how it's supposed to be, though. So then there's always that one auntie.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
you've got a niece.
I know that's but that's what I'm saying. I know she's your only auntie. I mean, on that side of the family,
only one that she.
But there's always that one that you're really close to. I feel like seems like
it's true. And I think especially like I don't know. I feel like to the women in your life, the older I get, the more I just feel like it's less of that parental relationship and more just you see eye to eye.
Yeah.
Hopefully, maybe not everybody, but eye to eye on things and just become friends.
Yeah.
That's exactly what ends up happening.
Yeah.
And then till they ask you for money. Oh, just kidding. Can you Venmo me? That's Jared. I'll pay you back on payday. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Some things haven't changed.
No. Some things never will.
No.
But
good old family dynamics.
That's right.
Well, Thank you so much. She's actually on a time restriction here because she actually is jumping on a plane here in just a couple hours and flying back to New York City.
On the red eye.
Yeah.
And then she'll probably go to work tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Stop by my apartment for a cold shower and head into work.
So thank you so much for making this a stop. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Literally on your way out of the city. And it was so fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I'm so excited
We're going to definitely have to do it again.
Yes, absolutely.
And everybody check us out on all our socials. You know, we're on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram.
Yep.
So you can find us there. Share us with your friends if you like us. And we'd appreciate
and
that.
like us if you share us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I guess that too.
I guess we're sharing Michelle now.
All right. On that note, we'll just say till next time.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.
All right.
Bye.